答えは常に塔の上にある。
間に合ったアリーナに売店ぐらいあるよな。
After school.
Welcome back, everybody, to the podcast. Another episode for the Webtoons. We are back. Sorry for the short hiatus, scheduling and all that, but we're here. And, it ends up working out at the end of the day. I don't think we talked about it on the podcast yet, but Tower God is got an extension on that hiatus for 6 months. I think it's like 5 months now, so we're looking at June, July. So that'll be like a whole year of no Tower. So, in the meantime, we're going to stick with what we usually talk about here. God of High School and Lookism. Today we're talking about chapters 334 to 386 for God of High School. This is the actual tournament, the 17th annual God of High School. As we find out that, Moriden still goes in to enter the tournament. And the last time we talked, I said, I just don't see a reason why he's going to go in there, but we see the reason, and it's to help his sister with these nanomachines to cure her leukemia. I don't know about you guys, but when I went through this whole tournament, it just feels like filler the entire time. Like we're just waiting to get to the real beef of the story, which is exactly what happens after this.
I think what cemented that idea for me was when they went all Battle Royale Fortnite on us.
Oh yeah. Well, PUBG, right? Because we saw PUBG. Man.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think that's where I don't know. It might have been an easier way to move the story along, but I mean, come on, dude. This is the future, man. Not everything is Fortnite, or maybe it will be.
It's memes, man. My main problem was with each fight. It didn't feel like Mori was gonna lose. Not until he fought his buddy at the end. Dean, yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Dean fight was the only one that felt like Mori could actually lose, but even I still have problems with that fight because Dean is just too OP, which is weird to say because Mori Jin has always been a little too OP in the series, but I don't know, we have an explanation in here. It's kind of like this, I don't know. This whole arc just felt weird for me.
Yeah, especially the fact that he's basically copying people's borrowed powers, and how he's pretty much mirroring really well Mori's out of all his fighting style. I say Mori because he's the one who notices early on that his borrowed power, his own personal, I guess, borrowed power. I don't even know what the hell his borrowed power is anymore. But the first one that he started with was the fact that he could premonitions or prescience, or whatever
could see
what
a
he could
few
see into the
seconds.
future, 5 seconds. Yeah. And then it turns out he can copy other people's borrowed powers, which is something else entirely. And I don't.
It's weird.
I don't know.
It's like they're setting up the next Mori Jin of the series.
I mean, I'm gonna go ahead and say it was a plot twist with the whole Generation X thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I thought that was a cool little thing that they're trying to do. And I can't wait to see that kind of rolling out later. One thing that I personally felt was just kind of shitty when it came to Dean, I think the best part about him, just to kind of rephrase myself, is his borrowed power, his own actual original borrowed power, the Fortuna or whatever. I think it was really cool how they kind of delved that out, and they made instances where he can kind of throw it at other people, use it on himself, and gets kind of better with it. But one thing that I didn't really admire about his character in general was just exactly how fast he can adapt and grow. I get it. He's not just human, he's superhuman, and that's the whole point. You're the new evolved humanity, and you're just going to be better. But I'm just you kind of remind me of Satan. You remind me of Satan 666.
Oh yeah,
where you're just you're just kind of invincible from the get go. I mean, he still found a way to beat you, but you were more or less a means to an end. You weren't somebody who I was thinking you were gonna be a character that I was gonna grow with, because now you're just you're just some antagonist at this point. Just the way that they made Dean play out and the way that he's playing off could have came across a lot better. And I think that if he had taken Dean in a more like different direction where he didn't have to come to head with Mori, then he could have actually been that kind of character where we're thinking, okay, like he's like really like level one, but give him, like a montage or give him another arc or two, and we'll get to like I want to say like Dawe, basically not like full power Dawe, but like Dawe like maybe an arc or two later, where obviously he's super strong, not as weak as he was before, but still definitely has room for improvements. Not just bring him here, let him fight Mori in both forms, and now all of a sudden he's like good to go. He's gonna be like the most troubling fucking enemy besides Mujin. Basically like the up the sleeve card. I was like that should not have been your position. You had a lot of other avenues to go through, especially with the personality that he has. I just kind of feel like he's kind of like an Iplo clone, and they just kind of threw Iplo under the bus too. He's just kind of doing his own thing, and that's just kind of fucking sucks.
I feel like he's got something up his sleeve, but
Yeah, I think it's pretty clear, but
that's just me.
by him doing that, yeah, he's just on the sidelines, being pretty much ignored this whole arc. I mean, if we get as soon as we get closer to where the mon was at now, I'm sure he's doing something. But it's weird with Dean. I was thinking like it feels like he is the main character of a new series, but this series isn't over, so he kind of has to. He's like stuck in the middle of something. Because it'd probably be more acceptable if this was just a different thing, and Dean was the main character, right? Because he's the main character in a shonen series. That's why they're special like that. But I don't know. I guess it's just the way it was approached. Yeah, with him when it got to the point where he's going toe to toe with Mori Jin, like in Mori Jin form. I was like, this is too much.
The first half, like before the tournament started, I was a really big fan of Moridan. I was a really big like fan of like the whole 2D aspect and like just how he does his shit. This latter half, when the tournament started to where it ended to where he confronts Mujin, I started really seeing the lackluster like performance in not only him in general, but just kind of like his personality and his his cognition between Mori Jin and Mori Dan. The only thing that I like about Mori Dan towards the end of this arc was the fact that he learned something from his grandpa, and he finally takes it a step further. You know what I mean? Like it's really centered around martial arts again, which is something that I like. Because normally when you throw powers into the mix, like things can go really awry, really crazy, really OP. But it's nice to see that throughout the message throughout this arc was that you don't need powers in order to win, which I think is like something that's going to be very vital as we go through later on. But more importantly, as he uses these martial arts and basically reinforces his basic skills like Dawe wants him to, limiting himself past his body, because he's basically the weakest form of himself as Mori Dan, and then Mori Jin is like not even 100% Mori Jin because he can't use that one move anymore, the little blood vessel move, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
I just felt like that little. It was basically the only reason why he won against Dean, because he was able to take that step further with his grandpa and just gone from recoilless to renewal, or whatever the last part was called. I think that hopefully we can get more of that and less of the powers. I'm gonna get really tired of it.
Yeah, but unfortunately, I think we're going to be seeing more powers because as we jump to the end of this arc here, it's Mori declaring war against Mubong and pretty much the rest of the world and basically the leader of non-powered users, and then powered users. You know, it's so basically what that means is they're going to train with martial arts, and then we're going to see all these crazy, new, insane, wacky god powers that we're going to be seeing, I guess, and then just seeing a war from there. The only good part I think that I enjoyed from the tournament itself was the introduction of Alex's son. I thought he was a cool character in the beginning. Unfortunately, he lost early, but when he came back, like, there's still hope that he's going to be interesting later down the line. And the reintroduction of Hercules' descendant, I forget his name, but yeah, it was cool to see him come back and actually have mastered the power of I forget the name of the specific weapon, because it's the direct weapon from Hercules itself.
He shows growth in this chapter, and that's something I appreciate.
Yeah, he's still chasing after Morihyu.
Dude, I keep forgetting he fought Morihyu and not Morijin, dude. That's crazy.
Yeah, and the crazier part is he didn't know the difference, right? Nobody told him that was
Which
a clone.
means like he probably doesn't stand a chance.
As Mori showed during this tournament, which was one of my problems, like this was more or less a training arc, right? It was just him rehoning his basic skills, like Oscar was saying, with like the martial arts stuff. And then when he's actually fighting, he's even stronger than he was before. There was that little comedic bit of Dawei saying like, oh yeah, he's got to watch out for these 3 people. And it's like, oh, actually he knocked them out in the first round. And it's like, wait, what? It's like, oh, same old Mori. And it was right there with the combination of each of his fights wasn't even a full chapter, is where I was like, I'm kind of getting ready to check out of this. I mean, everything else that's good for God High School, I still like, right? Like the art style is great. When we actually get intense fights, that's great too, but wasn't really feeling it. I mean, I of course did like the wholesome stuff though with him and his sister.
But it was not Mori, Daiwi, and Mira.
No, Mira's still...
Yeah.
I guess they're just saving Mira for later.
My biggest thing that they did not address, not even a little bit, was the little fucker that looks like Dawei.
Oh my god, yeah.
Oh yeah, even with the eye bandaged and everything, right?
I don't think it's an actual kid. I don't think it's real. Or, I mean, if it is probably real, I think it's an adult or a monster or something like that. And like she treats it like probably as like a son or something like that.
See, it's weird because she does that, and then Daiwei saw this kid and just kind of didn't react. And I don't know what the author's trying to expect us to feel about that, or just to think.
It has been 17 years too, right? So that kid would have to be older if it was his kid.
I mean, he'd be Mori's age at this point.
Because if they brought back that dude from the Sage Realm arc, who cloned Mori basically and turned him into that giant ape monster, whatever the hell it was.
Oh yeah, the scientist guy.
Yeah.
Team USA, yeah, he came back.
Did he ever take anything from Daiwi? No, right? He never even met that dude, right?
Really quick, I thought it was Sengoku who came back. Segak Bong. What part did you guys see the scientist guy come back?
Oh, he didn't come back. He was just like in a flashback.
Okay.
He didn't show up. They're just like, oh man, he must have gotten it from him.
Yeah, it was when we got the answer of who Mori Jung is. It's like, oh, actually, yeah, he's a clone from.
Did anybody else get really fucking curious when they showed the silhouettes for the other Moris and they don't even look like Mori? In the last arc that we reviewed, I specifically remember Dawei mentioning that Mujin had already assassinated these guys. So why would he need to hide the silhouette? If they don't exist anymore, if they're not gonna be in the present of the story, why would they need to hide their faces? Why does that matter?
Well, but then it goes on the other hand too, like why bother even showing it?
But I don't know, dude. He might pull some Oda shit. You might be right.
I definitely think he's gonna be doing. That's just kind of like the motif at this point. We're gonna get some, inconsistent flashbacks, towards characters, like side B characters, basically, just really quick, and then that'll, end up focusing its way back into the main issue or main fight, between these two characters, probably one that already had experience fighting them in the past, probably like Dawei or some shit. Oh yeah, I met this guy. He had the power to do this, and so now you'll see Mori like end up doing that power or doing that move in the future fight, just because he had briefly mentioned it. How did you guys feel about Dean having the battle armor?
I didn't see it coming, but it made sense.
Oh, there was a one panel in one of the early chapters when he first met Dean, and he was wearing it on his wrist, and like he was wearing it the entire time after that point, and I was like, oh, he has it, right? Like that has to be it.
Yeah, the armlets did look like it.
I found it interesting that the armor's consciousness decided to take care of Dean in the meantime while it waited for Mori. I guess that goes more into Dean is going to be eventually, I guess, the new Mori, if we're going to go that route, to where the armor liked him, similar to how I guess it could have liked Mori.
Wasn't there a chapter where like the person who actually made the armor for Sun Wukong?
Yes.
Yeah, like she basically threw her own soul into the armor set, so it has like
it's the strongest armor, yeah. And that is the thing that Mori saw in the battlefield all those years ago, when Satan asked Odin what that was, and then it's just like, oh well, you see the story, and then we got the story here. Yeah,
that was cool. I like that touch.
I do like the multiple form stuff with it. I think all the designs are great.
Oh yeah, he could fucking just do that shit right away, man. That's just how, I don't even know, man. There's something else besides the fact that he can copy that shit. Because I want to copy like other borrowed powers. Because I want to say like the premonition stuff is from the suit itself.
No, that's just his borrowed power. I mean, him copying moves I think it's just because he's a superhuman.
Well, one of the first Generation X.
With that, like, the thing about Mori, right, is that he can copy techniques pretty easily. And that might be because he is a godlike being, and that they just have that innate ability to copy those things, but they just choose not to. And I think that's what they're trying to say with the new superhumans, because they're born with that power within them, so it's easier for them to master stuff like that.
More specifically, you have to remember exactly what he was saying, like word for word. He specifically stated that this generation would be the generation without the taboo. Like the taboo is completely eradicated from their DNA. So on one end, they're not going to be like like that one girl, Xiao Xing or whatever her name is, the girl that just goes like full angel or whatever the hell. Like, obviously, they're not going to be able to do that anymore. But on the other end of things, you're technically not even human. So you can like just end up doing a whole bunch of shit. I think that within the next arc, he mentions that there's more than one. There's like, so far now, there's like 10 of them. So I was like, okay, so each one of them are going to have their own unique borrowed powers, but also maybe be able to do copies. And if not, if Dean is the only one he can do that, why is he the only one that can do that? So again, they just kind of like, kind of diverts into these little loopholes, more or less, but I guess we're just going to see, there's really no choice with that.
Yeah, we're just going to have to see. I think it's just they're trying to make Dean the new Mori, as far as, because like his personality is pretty similar to like early Mori Jin.
Definitely.
And yeah, I think that's just what it is. Because right now, as far as likability, like what you were saying with Mori, it's like he's not really how he used to be. He's so different. He admits that he was running away, that he's ashamed of what he's become, kind of thing, and he's just a broken down character. And in a series like this, I guess the author still wants that happy-go-lucky person that we've known for so long, and the best option was to bring in somebody new that would actually be on the opposite side in this war of Mori. And so maybe like Dean is the the thing to remind Mori exactly like who he is and how he has to just get over this and mature, kind of deal.
Yeah, yeah, I did get a lot of that, and that was, you know, ties into what I think is my favorite part of this arc, where he has that, final climax with Dean, and he, learns again. He like improves his grandpa's stance, and he just kind of takes that opportunity to have an epiphany during the fight, because I guess that's the best time to always have an epiphany. And you just basically see from there, he's like, well, just like how my grandpa does, not only am I wasting energy, wasting movements, wasting, all of this stuff being wasted, I just have to make the move in the right, in the right way. I think that a piece of that isn't just for fighting. I think that's also a mentality. You spend a lot of your time wasted energy, wasted breath, wasted movements. All of that can be said towards how he has his relationships with certain characters, what he does during certain fights. Like, I feel like if he had already basically mastered this stance before he fought Dean, but while he was Mori-Jin fighting Mubong, he would have ended up having a different conversation with him and not just doing and falling for what Mujin wanted to happen anyway. This, I don't know, like this for me was a very like big character development for me. He basically has that moment where he realized that he plateaued, and that for the longest time, like, you never thought that the glass ceiling would be broken after all of that, but it breaks again. And just like how I was telling you earlier, he didn't even need his fucking powers this time. That's great. That's excellent. He broke the glass ceiling for martial arts, and he's still showing Mujin that even without the god parts of the Monkey King, as long as he had what his grandpa taught him, he's gonna beat his ass. He is literally going to make him cry. You know what I mean? And that's human power, and that's the one thing that Mujin like it's really hard for him to swallow. That Mori Jin's grandpa was basically the real the human, what was it called? Special human cultural asset or something like that. So, grandpa is the
Yeah.
actual human cultural asset, not Mujin. If any of this were to be revealed to the whole entire world, nobody would need Mujin. It was a necessity that he needed to get rid of, and that's what makes the whole thing very tragic. That's what really draws my attention to this. All of these things are kind of happening like at a moment too late, where alternates could have been reached. A different ending could have been reached, but you're going through this specific scenario so you can understand the character's pains and emotions as you go through these scenarios that happen after the fact. So that way, when they have that epiphany, the way that Mori did, it wasn't just something that he was going to use. He was going to take it with him, and he shows that after everything is said and done, and they're having in that declaration that he's going to basically establish, what do they call it, DW, whatever, like the district of non powered users. That was his first step towards asserting basically that Monkey King, I'm gonna make sure that my people are taken care of dominance without having to be Monkey King. Like, at this point, like, no, not even any bullshit, but at this point, we would basically have to refer to him as just Mori-Jin, because he's not the Monkey King anymore.
And I think that's why that's why I said it feels like a training arc, because that's what you usually get out of that, involving with what Mori was understanding and all that. I am looking forward to see what he's going to be doing with the martial arts stuff, especially if he's going to be training people. It'll be interesting to see what goes on with that, and as well as what his sister's going to be thinking about all this, because she's definitely going to be coming back into the picture soon. They have the means to fix her, right? They have the nanomachines, and they know how to activate it, so they should be able to at least patch her up, and then she's definitely gonna have a conversation with Mori. So I'm looking forward to that too, and I hope that's at the beginning of the next arc.
Yeah, that's definitely my favorite or I can't say my favorite because I know what my favorite is, but that is one of my highly rated things that I am looking forward to, and my favorite character, or highly rated character, if I have to be honest with you. Uh, yeah, his sister is just like a kind of like a refresher to the series. We have somebody who, relatively speaking, was pretty damn strong. I really like the whole. We do have to talk about the previous arc for a second, but I really like the structure of how everything played out because 17 years later in the future, we see that the strongest person around. How do you pronounce it? Awe, Anna, Ahan, Ahan. Yeah, Ahan. So Ahan is number one, right?
Uh-huh.
The you don't fuck with the witch, and she like decimates construction zones and like fucking creates like huge craters in the ground and like all this other stuff and like wow, that's a lot of destruction. To quote a certain someone, that's a lot of damage. As we progress to this arc, the scale for power just skyrockets, just shoots up like a skyscraper. And now we see that even with all of that power that she showed, that she was, exerting and all this other stuff, none of that is like scaling towards, Maury Dan or Dean or anybody else from the tournament. It's crazy how that shit just makes you look at things in perspective. And I love that shit. Because all I can say from here is that when you're at the very bottom, you can only go up. And hopefully with this nano machine in this next arc, like I'm just gonna hope that he makes some shit up and he's like, okay, in this series we can cure leukemia, so that's exactly what we fucking did with this nano machine. And now she can basically be on par. I'm gonna go ahead and just say Dean, because I really want there to be like a moment where she's gonna back up her big brother. You know what I mean? Like, and she's gonna really bring it to somebody. That's what I want.
Oh yeah, that'd be fucking great.
Yeah, and especially because, once she gets healed, she doesn't have to worry about overextending her power. So right off the bat, she could probably use all three brothers and just wreck.
Yeah, she can. She can, can't she?
I'm waiting.
Yeah, because like the reason, it was holding her back because it was like a time limit, right, to where she wouldn't be able to walk and all that stuff because of the way she was siphoning her power towards her leg, right? I think that's how it was.
Well, I know that she had to take the medication, and that was like something that they had stapled since the beginning of the arc. And she was very bad at taking that medicine. She didn't want to take the medicine.
That's right. Yeah.
She knows that taking the medicine makes her weaker. And I don't think that she took the medicine when she did the preliminary tournament.
Yeah, she was off the medicine for a month, and then that's what caused her to pass out, and that's why Maury had to step in her place. I want to see exactly how big this arc is going to be, since it's essentially a civil war.
Yeah, well, civil war in North Korea. Yeah, the central. I mean, technically, you're not wrong because it's like New World Government, but it'll all just take place in Korea anyway.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll see an effect. Like, we'll see like some new stuff or something leading up, like before anything major happens. So I think with that, we could go ahead and move on to the Lookism stuff that's been happening here, man. J. Kim is still going strong. Chapters 11 through 15 here. A lot of stuff, a lot of stuff, and this is the best part of the arc, man. This is so good.
You see real people in this one, like by real emotions come out, and some tables are turned, especially with Samuel, because he's not all he was cracked up to be as I thought it was.
And it's crazy because Samuel, this entire time, I felt like, oh yeah, this is just him. Like, this is exactly how he was in present day. And it's like, oh, the big thing that was going to be different is what's going on with J. Kim, right? Like we've been saying. But then as we dig more into what's been going on since J. Kim left, big deal. And then we find out exactly what's going on with Samuel and who his actual father is, and how that just mentally just shuts him down and starts to go crazy. It's really good build up to what the latest chapter was that we got the other day.
I'm not gonna lie, I was really kind of disappointed in Samuel's backstory. I really think that it was just a really huge overreaction, and they just went with it. That's just how I feel about it. Like honestly, for him to, and it makes sense. Like her, his mom didn't want to say anything about it the whole time, so he's just trying to piece all these things together on his own and have all these clues. And it's like in chapter 11, it's pretty clear that there's more than one photo. There it doesn't show anything else in the other photos, but there's just more than one photo. For that to have been the plot twist, where his real dad comes into the picture and he's just like, "Hey, you took a picture of the guy. It's the picture I took of you." Like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, are you see? And then another thing is, this guy doesn't even look like Samuel. Neither the mom or the dad look like Samuel. And I just think that that's kind of weird.
Hey, so I got a question. Did he end up killing them or not?
His dad?
Both of them.
I don't know about both of them. I'm pretty sure he like hospitalized his dad though.
Yeah, I know he strangles him, but I don't want to say he's dead. Yeah, I don't know, because Samuel probably wouldn't just be walking the streets like that if he did kill his dad.
That's true.
Yeah, as far as the twist goes, with what you're saying, yeah, I can understand it. It does kind of feel a little cheap, a little easy to make Samuel go crazy, but I mean, it's all the build-up that he gave himself, right? Him being bullied because he didn't have a dad, and he was just trying to find just an answer to, like, okay, who is my dad? And then he finds this picture, realizes that it's actually this, this gang member, and it's like, oh, wait, that's pretty strong. That means I could be like that. And then that's where he gets the arrogance, overconfidence, and all that. And it's just like that fantasy you build in your head, and then, like, nothing's going to convince you otherwise until you get the hard truth of your actual dad showing up. And that just shows how, I guess you could say, immature Samuel is compared to Jake. If we're going that route, right? Because I think that's one of the themes here, is like the reason why Gunn chose Jake over Samuel, basically, right? And that lies like in their psyche, and this is part of it. Especially because, Samuel's been boasting like, oh, just wait till you hear who my dad is, the fucking badass, right? And just to have this world just fall apart in front of him, yeah. I think it makes sense. But yeah, just all the hype of him being Jake's brother is definitely, they could have toned it down a bit probably in the beginning.
I don't know,
Yeah.
man.
I think I agree with that one though, because like they I gotta admit, I guess it was kind of like loopy, the whole fact that like they really pushed the whole fucking they both have the same dad thing on them. Like, yeah, it would have been a cool storyline. Like, for me at least, it would have been great to know that they were like kind of that, and then that would have meant that Samuel's reasoning for being so fucking crazy is a little more justifiable because of the fact that Jake was a good son. But the fact that like, nah, he wasn't really his fucking son is like, I don't get why he got so crazy. That's what I'm saying.
See, I agree with you. That would make me suggest that it's an overreaction. It's clearly an overreaction, man. He's just like, as I'm reading through it, he's just got this severe hate for this guy, because all he really wanted was for this guy to be his dad. And he's just like, how could you not respect where you came from? Like, basically, like, I would die to have come from this guy's nutsack. You know what I mean? Like, he's just, everything about him is so cool, so gangster, so much something that I wanted to be. Like, I lived my whole life based off that. And, like, he really just hates that Jake doesn't accept that part of himself. He doesn't accept that heritage. Because Jake doesn't want to be like his dad, because he knows his dad's a piece of shit for the most part. But, you know, to Samuel, he's like, he's just a gangster, man. You just got to live the life. And that nigga ain't a piece of shit. You're the piece of shit for not really, wanting to be a part of that life. And he's like, "Oh, you hate your dad? I hate you, bro, because you're just squandering everything I wish I had." That's an overreaction. You can make your own happiness out of whatever kind of shit you got in your life. I mean, just look at fucking Ollie Wang.
Dude's always smiling.
Fucking Eli, Ollie, like even fucking what's his name? Daddy, no, not Daddy. Uncle Warren?
Yeah.
Warren, yeah. And I'm just saying, like, all of those people, you know, they had like really shit backgrounds. And I'm just saying, like, based off what Sammy had, I mean, sure, yeah, it sucks that you were born in the ghetto and that your mom is your mom. But other than that, I mean, like, it's an overreaction. Like, there was really nothing for you to take away from that. Like, I don't even really understand why this is the kind of character that has to have abandonment issues, but he's just fucking tatted up the sleeves, down to the neck, on his hands.
He has the fucking alchemical symbols all over his fucking body.
But he's like 14, bro. How did that happen, dude? What the fuck, my guy?
Again, it's just I mean, it's like you said, like he built it up, and then it just it all just literally just comes crashing down hard on him because he realizes that, oh, I just made all this up. Like everything I'm doing it never mattered, kind of thing.
What do you guys feel about Sinu? Because honestly, let me tell you, I really wish that this guy was introduced way earlier into the series. I think that for us to not have even, a mention of Sinu back when Jake was still in the beginning, I know like he wasn't relevant, but the monologue that he has as they refurbish the scenes, I just think that Sinu is really cool. That's how I feel.
Yeah, Sinu's cool.
He's a really big boss type, and he didn't really get a lot of recognition when he should have, especially because he's a really big part of Jake's and Samuel's, like, I'm not going to say childhood, but I guess childhood.
Like upbringing.
Also children.
Their upbringing.
Upbringing, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, no, Sinu is great, man. I liked it when he showed up, right? Exactly what kind of character he was. And, we see his morals through and through. And then just the way he sends himself off and hands over Big Deal to Jake Kim. I thought all that was really great. And very likable character,
They made him. I think they had to make him likable. Otherwise, we wouldn't feel like that way when he actually just left.
Yeah, if he was just your average guy that just Jake Kim just was working under, nothing special. My big surprise was that he's actually still around, and that's Jake Kim's purpose, know. And like you said, like he wasn't mentioned before, but I think it's because, as far as I remember, like Jake Kim, like we just knew what type of person he is, and then here we understand the reason why. But the Sinu part it was like we said, it wasn't important because it's just we need to be introduced to Jake Kim first early on. And then it's only here we get to the depth of his character.
So with that being said, let me ask you, and I think that it's probably 14 or 15, where they go into that again. What is it, like the flashbacks for Jake? And one of the things that I was noticing is, just basically what we were just talking about. They don't really reference Sinu through the original version of Jake, but they'll rehash the scene and like kind of like put things in there just to kind of show you what his mindset was at.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking to myself, when he raged out after Gunn told him that he was disqualified, did that rage fit that he got come from the fact that he's disqualified from saving Sinu, or would that he was found out? Like, that's kind of how I saw it after I read it that way. I was like, oh, so he was just like literally livid that he lost his only chance to save his friend.
Yeah, I think that's what it is, because I mean, like Gunn himself, like Gunn knows that like he's doing all this so that way he could buy back Sinu. So yeah, I think it fits.
I like the Goo's little involvement with Samuel really fast. He just kind of like shows you how he kind of starts this little idea in the top of his head that's like, I just have a really good idea. I'm not going to tell anybody, but I want you and I to be friends. Like, yeah, like you want help? I can help you out, but let's be like, let me do you a solid. Be my friend. That's cool. I like that. And the only other thing I thought was funny, I don't typically normally read the comments, but just talking about Sinu really quick, like I really loved. I think it was chapter 12 or chapter 13, I think. Like the top comment was that Sinu had pulled an Itachi. I just had to. I was like,
Yeah, okay,
fuck,
yeah.
like he did,
Yeah,
didn't he?
he
I was
did,
like, oh,
yeah.
fuck.
Yeah.
Big surprise that Sinu is part of the 10 Geniuses, right?
What chapter was that?
It's 14. It's the shot of him being in the prison cell. They call him number 8, and that's why he's worth the 1 billion. What's the currency? Won? That's what it is?
I think he's prisoner number 8, the fighter number 8. This is a dogfighting ring, so I think he's the 8th one.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. That's right. That's right. I forgot this was yeah. The past few chapters was, they were talking about 10 Geniuses.
I'm really looking forward to seeing the conclusion for this.
I was telling Jerry earlier today, I was like, I didn't know I missed the way this guy draws faces like he did in this chapter, because it's been a good while, and it fit perfectly with exactly what was going on.
This whole thing is getting so insanely huge. I don't really know what direction they're gonna head into after this. They could.
Right? You forget what this is about, dude. I forgot.
It's
what
not
this
like I
is about
forget
already.
where it's about. Like I know obviously it's like a gang delinquent thing. Like I get that, but it's like you don't know if we're gonna get more exposition on another person, or if we're gonna go back to Daniel, or if we're gonna be fucking talking about Choi or Crystal or literally any of the other individual leads of the 6 from J High. It's just like every single time that we will go back to J High and we try to tune in and see what's going on with these people, they all have such huge things going on for their own individual characters, that they all just have to have their own character arcs. It's like it's gotten that big to this point, and I just really want to know, like, if we are gonna immediately go into an actual arc and not just more exposition, what are we actually gonna see here? Are we seeing workers and Big Deal gang up against J High? Are we watching maybe J High investigating a little bit into workers more, or Big Deal? How far along until we get to see Sinu and this underground cage fights? Who are we gonna see? And it's most likely gonna be Vasco. I'm not even gonna fuck around. It's like Vasco's gonna do those, do these fights. I'm just putting it out there.
Dude, I fucking miss Jace so much.
Yeah, man.
Jace Kid Detective.
Yeah,
dude.
I think we're kind of at the point where the story is getting so big it's outgrowing our other characters.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is way over the heads of, everybody at the high school besides Daniel, because this is Daniel's mission, is to stop the 3 affiliates. What's after this arc, it's going to be more J. Kim, right? Because before we started this flashback arc, we got the scene of J. Kim leaving Juvie, and this arc was the purpose to tell us what Jake's motivation is now that he's out. And then, of course, like, we could just set up some stuff in the meantime while we're doing this, since it's all connected like that. So then we get to see the stuff with Samuel and Goo being a secret friend, and that kind of changes what Samuel's motivation could be in the future now. Like, we could probably look at him in a different light moving forward. I think it's just going to focus on Jake Kim for a little bit more after this. And then from there, I mean, who knows? Like, are we going to see Daniel come in? And
now a lot of things are starting to click in place for me. Like, do you remember when Daniel was still doing the investigations as Handsome Daniel, and he found the secret room, but he had to come back as Ugly Daniel to actually go in the room and like find out what everything was? Now we know that room and everything in it was probably between Goo and Samuel. Everything that he was doing while he was under his friend Alex, he was taking real orders from Goo. as like a part of the secret friends thing. I think that the connection and like the research that he was doing, like all the pins that he had on all the J High guys, I think that was something that Goo was really looking into. Because remember, he already tried to reach out to what's that fat kid's name?
Logan.
I think that he declined his thing, and so did Daniel. So like they both declined. So that gets him like really going, like, oh man, like there's some really cool people over here. I gotta, see what's going on. Get my research up. I can get my boy on that, because he's already one of my secret friends. You see what I'm saying? And it's just like I feel like it really fits in for Samuel because his position was more or less just obtaining information. He wasn't the muscle or he had a muzzle on. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
He purposely kept his own muzzle on, and he, refined himself because he knows, no, at least now we know in retrospect that he had to really like change his whole characteristic to be more affirmed, more cool, calm, and collect. He knows that he's basically losing on all ends whenever he gets upset, whenever he gets emotional. You know what I mean? That's the one thing that Gunn basically kept repeating again and again throughout this entire arc, throughout the entire Workers arc.
Oh yeah.
It's like whenever he gets emotional, he fucks up. I don't like him. It's really cool. I personally like now like I said, because you're saying all these things, it's not just clicking into my head. It's like, oh, all these things are starting to make sense, like fall into place. You know what I mean? And that kind of just makes me think that once we get the ball back to like the present and we're trying to start this inevitable arc that keeps going forward, you're definitely gonna see this tension between Goo and Gun. Like we're getting to that point right now where we're running out of shit to basically fall back on, and now secrets are going to start being revealed.
Especially this arc, because this one, the whole flashback thing shows a clear kind of a clear distinction between Goo and Gun. Like Goo's all about like the business side, and I mean Gun's all about the business side, and Goo's all about the pleasure side. And like, well, except like when fucking Gun finds something that he really fucking is excited about, like Daniel and his fucking body and his Ultra Instinct bullshit. But like Goo is just a fucking like freak. Like he's a fucking sadist, dude. He just likes the chaos, bro. And Goo, and if it doesn't show in their fucking what do you call it? In their appearance already, where Goo has like the bleached hair, and just really loud and shit, and Gun is a more reserved, the more humble martial artist type. Like it makes me appreciate like the whole the whole dichotomy of both of them, where like you kind of need the order and the chaos at the same time.
Yeah, Ultra Instinct. Yeah, which is what Samuel was unlocking right in the last chapter. Yeah.
Do you think Goo can also Ultra Instinct?
No, I think Goo is just crazy.
I think Goo has his own thing going on.
Yeah.
It's not really... I'm pretty sure it's probably mentioned somewhere, but it's just... There's no real clear winner between Gun and Goo. That's pretty much why they work together.
Mm-hmm.
So even if Goo doesn't have Ultra Instinct, he's still basically on par with Gun without it. I don't know. Goo is just a very interesting character. His personality, his relations and connections to other characters.
His sense of fashion.
And most importantly,
yeah, bro,
he's just really good with weapons. Like I'm like super shocked to see, like, if you give this nigga a stapler, I would run. Like I don't even it can be a regular Office Max stapler. I'm like, you're gonna die. I don't know how, but you're gonna die.
Yeah, he's a very likable asshole. I think for me, the only thing that I was a little bothered with would be just like the amount of time that passed by in between these chapters since Sinu left up until like this fight between the three affiliates. Because it's like, oh, Jake's dad dies. Samuel got in charge of his own gang somewhere else. Next thing we see Ollie Wang, and he's already, I'm gonna assume, done training with Gun. You know, like I think there's a lot of time in between there, and we just don't really get a sense of that.
I think during Hostel he mentions that he was training with Ollie for 6 months. I think it was 6 or 9
yeah.
months. Yeah, I don't think it was a full year. He just, well, to be fair with you, it probably would have to be more than a year if I remember correctly. I know I really don't, but the only reason why I assume it's more than a year is because it takes an incredibly long time to grow dreads, and he's got really long dreads.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm pretty sure that instead of 6 months, he might have been training with Gun for, I want to say, maybe 3 years. Like, but clearly within those 3 years, he wasn't just training Gun, like, or Ollie. You know, he also had, like, other things that he was doing, you know, as that was happening. I just think that basically he incorporated a lot of training for Ollie while that was happening, you know? And it's also the first time you see him basically since he talked to Samuel, you know, all those times back. Another thing that also doesn't make any sense to me is technically I think Ollie is supposed to be the same age as Samuel or older than Samuel, but at the time when they met each other, Samuel was taller than Ollie, and now later on Ollie is taller than Samuel, and he's also older than him.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look at Johan, right?
Yeah, I get that too. I remember he had, you know, came in as a new kid, scared as fuck, brown hair, would cry, and now like he's just got the black hair and without even the proper training with Tom Lee or anything like that, he's, you know, he just kind of fucks everybody up.
Kind of, you know, the one thing I kind of wish is probably that Samuel didn't have this Ultra Instinct stuff going on. Because I think, you know, the reason why Gunn likes Daniel so much is their morals are probably similar to each other, and the fact that he can also do this Ultra Instinct stuff. It would help Samuel's side if he was more like Goo, right? Like when Goo showed up to see who won the fight, and then he sees Samuel doing stuff that Goo would do, and that makes him like it even more. I think that would have been fine without the Ultra Instinct stuff kicking in of like, oh man, my chest is on fire, what's going on? You know, unless that pulls into something even bigger later down the line with this body swapping stuff, you know, who knows? So cool, man. Yeah, I think with that, we just have the 2 more chapters until we're done with this flashback. I'm curious to how it's going to end off, because I think we pretty much have all the answers to pretty much everything that was asked during this arc, right? Like J. Kim's backstory. And then just Samuel's backstory, I guess, as a bonus. So I think we're just going to see where or what is going on behind the scenes that hasn't been brought up yet in present day. So I'm curious to see what that is, and then looking forward to what's going on. I don't know about you guys, but I would like a breather mini arc at some point.
Yeah,
like another
there's too much stuff going on.
Another trip to the beach or whatever.
Yeah, just, you know, just something that's not as high, not really high paced, but high stakes, I guess you could say.
I
Because
just don't need more exposition. That, like, if you're gonna do a filler arc, don't give me any more exposition. That's it. Like, just do like anything, even if it's not related to the actual main plot. Keep it central to what's going on in the present for your characters.
Yeah, give me another slice of life chapter again.
Thank
I'd be down
you.
with that.
The problem with the last filler when they went to the beach, which is pretty much what we're going to talk about now, is just the fact that what was his name? My homie Vince, you know, they gave exposition to his story and his background. They showed you what his crew was like and who his crew was. But, you know, they just didn't have that falling out that I was hoping for. I hope we all were looking forward to that. And I'm like, why did you have to do that? Why did you have to waste that opportunity? Because even though he ended up coming in for Hostel, it was still practically short and almost no actual character development at all. There was no exposition when those two actually fought. You just made him make an appearance into the series and use that excuse to follow him back to wherever the fuck so that they can duke it out. And it was just lackluster. Like, he just beat him and then that was it. It's just This is what I'm talking about. You have 6 individuals on their own are all pretty much good than the other. Like, no one is better than the other when it comes to these J-High guys. Their personalities and individualities are so big. Their own expositions, their own arcs need to be made specifically for them. And I just feel like when you throw a filler out there, you're using that opportunity to basically refresh yourself, get your mind right, and say, I'm going to turn around and this is how I'm going to introduce this person's character arc. Just like I said, when I saw that filler and I saw that that's what he decided to do, I'm like, I just see this as a wasted opportunity. I just feel like you could have done this in a better way, so that way we could have had more time getting to love Vince rather than knowing that we're just going to have the same 3 characters stay in the same 3 spots for your popularity contest. Like, it's always going to be Daniel, it's always going to be Vasco, it's always going to be Jace. That's it. It's never going to change.
I think, again, it goes back to what I said earlier about, like, the story is just getting too big for its own good right now. Oh, man, like, we have to set up a lot real fast before we can even move forward in time. And just going through the chapters here, the last time, like, we really had, like, some downtime, when they went to the beach, and that was, like, 50 chapters ago. So it's been pretty nonstop since then. Over on the Gintama reviews with me and Grant, I mentioned that, like, in the final arcs over there, it was pretty much the same thing here, just high intense action, nonstop movement of what's going on, like super serious all the time. And then we got the gag stuff right in the middle of it at the perfect time, so that way everyone can just relax before we even get into bigger stuff. And yeah, it's time for that. But as crazy and long as these arcs have been recently, it's not with all of our characters that initially the series was building up.
I just feel like one of the main things that drew me to it was it wasn't what I expected it to be. It wasn't a delinquent manga. It wasn't just a slice of life manga. It was literally like I was reading a K-drama. In order for me to really like jump back in, like, and just really give it 100% of my attention, like, I kind of want what you're saying. Like, I want to get away from the delinquent side of things that you guys have been running into, and I just want you to go back to like just some stupid ass K-drama. Like, just give me like 2 or 3 chapters about fucking girl A in Daniel's class that makes Crystal feel like, nervous or jealous or whatever, so that she has to have like a little moment with herself and the other Crystal thinking about what they should do or say to Daniel. Like, just give me some stupid shit, like high school shit. Because that's what it is. That's where they are. That's where they're at. I'm asking for what was originally there that's no longer in the, present in the series currently.
I think that's just the problem with the series, though, is how it started and where we're at, right? Because there was I remember there is that definite shift, I don't know, like around the 100 chapters or whatever. Like, you could definitely tell, like, oh, we're no longer going this route. Like, it'll still be there here and there. Like, there was those chapters where Zoe wanted to know how to flirt with a guy, like Crystal's real body, I think, whatever the hot body was at school. She was talking to Fat Daniel, and Zoe was getting jealous, and like, that stuff is good. And that was right before like this heavy shit really kicked in. And I think now, for as far as downtime goes that we can get, we'll probably won't get back to that for a while, because I'd imagine it's going to be with Daniel as the focus as they try to do some downtime, but he's going to keep thinking of what the next move is, only get like just minor distractions from what he's trying to do. That's just the shift the series has gotten. Because if we're not doing this stuff, then it would just probably be what you were saying, the K-drama stuff the entire time, and really not get into the heavy stuff.
It's nice to have both. When both were present. But you're not wrong. You're totally not wrong. Because obviously, when it comes to these kind of things, and when, of course, the reader just starts developing interests and feelings towards the characters, there's only really one where to go, and you have to just roll with what's happening in the story and with the characters and everything like that. So, I mean, true, what I'm asking for is, basically asking to go backwards. But at the same time, I don't feel like it's impossible. I think that, especially with his talent, like, he's very good about, kind of wrapping things together like in a neat little bow. I'm not gonna say that his delivery is good. The presentation that he delivers at the end basically makes it seem seamless, and I like that. I wish that get a little bit of that with a little bit of K drama, and that can pretty much sate me just for what I need until I'm ready to put my mind back into the next character he wants to do exposition for, and we're gonna spend another 3 months going to that character like we did for Eli. I don't even know how long it's been since I really saw Daniel last. I legitimately cannot remember when I saw him last.
It was when he fought Gunn, when he was doing the investigation on James Lee.
That could not be the last time we ultimately saw him.
Oh no, I'm sorry. No, the last time we saw him was Workers.
So yeah, basically,
it was the arc before this one.
I swear that was like 3 months ago, 4 months ago.
Yeah, it'd be 16 chapters ago the last time we saw him, or no, 18 chapters. Yeah, so like 4.5 months.
September 5th was the last time that we saw Daniel. And now we're in January 2021, so it's definitely been some time.
I don't think it's fair to count the Jake Kim arc because it is a flashback.
So was the Eli flashback.
But that arc itself with Eli, like Daniel was there.
Totally, it was in Hostel he was there. I'm talking about specifically the Eli arc, because the Eli arc was like probably 20 chapters or so.
Oh, but the Eli Jang arc that's a flashback as well. Like I don't think you can count. I say it's not fair to count flashbacks because none of the characters would be there except the person that they're specifically talking about.
But that's pretty much all what exposition is. All you're ever going to get are flashbacks and references to people's pasts and all this other stuff. And like I'm telling you, or basically what you're already telling me, is that the world is too big. He already raised the whole world to be like this grandiose mechanism that holds everyone together. But all of these people also have their own huge individual backgrounds and all this other stuff. So now the world is basically really, really big. And all the people in it are also really, really big. And it's a lot. You can't really fit it all.
Yeah, well, it's just like One Piece. Like, you can say the same thing in Wano, right? There was a whole act where it was just a flashback with Odin. And I don't think it's fair to say, like, well, where's Luffy? We haven't seen Luffy in forever.
I'm going to give that to you. But one other thing that I'm going to tell you is that was like a 4-chapter flashback. It was 4 fucking chapters. I'm not talking about like the fact that he can't have a flashback. I'm just saying they're really big.
Odin wasn't 4 chapters. It was just as much content as we're getting here for sure. Yeah, so the Odin flashback is 13 chapters. So it's just the same amount of length as this one. And that one actually took longer because of all the breaks.
I'll give that to you. And the fact that it's 13 chapters, I'll also give that to you as well. I'm not going to, argue against that because at that point I'm literally arguing against myself. I am still going to admit, though, that these are longer. True that they were breaks in between and we did have to wait, the same amount, if not longer, for Luffy to come back. But you also have a lot of Luffy. There's no shortage of Mugiwara and what's going on in his end of things. But I don't normally see a lot of J-High and what's going in the going-ons in that. For a protagonist, he's not really much of a protagonist.
No, he certainly is, as far as he's always involved when it comes to the big arcs. Like he was there during the Hostel stuff. He was there. He was the main reason we got into the Workers arc with 1MCN. And I'll give it to you if when we start the next arc back in the present and Daniel's still not showing up for a good while, I'll give it to you there to where well, where is he at? He's our point of view into this world, and we need him there majority of some to majority of the time. So I can see where you're coming from, but yeah, I think if we don't see him soon, then that's a problem.
With that being said, we're coming onto this, reality where now in this series, even though he is the main protagonist, his importance is on the same level as most of his colleagues, most of his allies. Like the author doesn't really, to me, in my opinion, doesn't really do a good job of reminding you how important Daniel is above everyone else. True, he has a secret, and true, he has the two bodies that he's, at this point, makes it work for himself and his dynamic like clockwork. But it also kind of doesn't matter. You got a lot of characters. They're all really big. They all need their own exposition. They all have, really good tie-ins to other characters. Like, I'm going to say good and bad tie-ins because I was just fucking crying not even a month ago about how I hated the fact that Samuel and Jake were basically related like this, and now they're not. Like that really irritated me, but I'll give it to you because I wasn't expecting it to go back the other way around. So I like that. You got me. I was really, and I guess that's one thing that I guess you can say about the manga that's really, not manga, fuck it. The author's like really awesome thing is that he has a really good way of making you set on this idea and then taking the idea away like, but you didn't see that coming. And I like that. That's really good. That doesn't really still take away from, the fact that all the characters, kind of take too much space and kind of, topple over each other at times, especially with like chapters and arcs like these. But I just hope that, when Daniel comes back or when we're really ready to get, Workers and Big Deal versus J High, that Daniel is going to have, maybe like a moment to himself or a moment with Mr. Choi or with Crystal or with somebody that actually does advance what's going on with his secret in that story to where we can, get this leverage of importance for Daniel and we can recognize him as the main protagonist and as somebody who you have to follow if you want to see an end to the story with a good, seamless bow over everything, like that perfectly nice Christmas present.
Let's just hope we're getting what we want coming up in these chapters. Won't be next episode, but the episode after that.
What did you guys feel towards the girls? Because I feel like the girls were... Let me put it to you this way. I think that they hold value, but I don't think that they're important, which is kind of stupid considering that a lot of the decisions that Sinu, Jake, Samuel, and everyone who was involved with the original Big Deal, and, we had the Black Bears gang, or whatever the fuck?
Yeah.
Whatever they were called?
Yeah, Black Bear gang.
So, to me, I just felt like maybe there should have been more going on with these girls, but I just, based off everything, how the way that played out, also maybe not. But I was wondering if you guys also maybe got that feeling, like you maybe wanted more out of what was going on with these girls. Like, for the most part, I know that most of the girl characters, at least the primary protagonist girl characters, like the girls in the classroom, they're always involved, but not really involved.
Yeah. I think you said it best about the girls with Big Deal is they hold value, but they're not important. And I think that's what makes them special in the series. It's sort of they're the reason that, Big Deal's there, and then also for them to relax. Like they give Big Deal purpose.
Yeah, there's a backbone of Big
Deal.
Deal.
They don't have to do much, but they just they're there, and that's what it means. That's what gives it meaning for them to be in Big Deal. Because if the girls were never there, Big Deal forms. They're just another gang, and they'll just go the same senseless route. But the girls are there to kind of bring them back and realize, like, there's actually other things that are important than just being in a gang.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I just wouldn't have expected them to just kind of like pair off, if that makes sense. I just kind of felt like besides them just being girls, like, I don't know, they were gonna have like names, and like maybe like personality, and like maybe they would, I don't know, interact with the gang, like probably as also gang members.
I mean, we, the audience, don't need that because it's more of just the idea of what's there, right? Like, I don't think we're going to be... There might be a line or two Jake says, like, oh, make sure the girls are safe or whatever. How are the girls doing? But that's going to be it because he has other things going on in his mind. But, of course, the girls are still in his mind because, like, they were left in his care by Sinu. And... I mean, personality, I mean, we only had, like, just the one, really, but, I mean, we didn't get much, but, you know, the one that, you know, Sinu has feelings for, I think she got her name mentioned, I don't remember, but, yeah, just one central head is really all that we would need from them, and even then, yeah, she doesn't really have to do much, except for, you know, saying what she said to Jake, in these chapters, but, yeah, man, so... We're going to cap off this episode. Thanks for sticking around, and we'll be back on our normal schedule with the next episode as we end the Jake Kim flashback. And, I mean, yeah, this is a really long arc. I'm just glad it's finally coming to an end. So, all right, man, while we wait for those episodes and chapters to come out, you can go ahead and give us an email, unversepodcast@gmail.com. Let us know your thoughts and comments. What are you guys feeling with this arc? On both ends for God of High School and Lookism. And then, of course, Unversed Podcast, anywhere go on social media, and we'll let you know when those episodes drop. So thanks, guys. Catch you on the next one.